Reilly here. Welcome to the No Spin News for Monday, September 15th, 2025. Stand up for your country. So another intense news week unfolding. We are very glad you are with us. We hope you're taking advantage of BillO'Reilly.com. We have insights there that no one else has about the Charlie Kirk assassination, about Putin, about President Trump. I wrote a column about my meeting with the president on Thursday at Yankee Stadium. We have a message of the day today showing a timeline of exactly what happened, what is true. You got to understand the media, a lot of this stuff they're reporting is not true. And they don't care because nobody holds them accountable. We care. So we have a lot of resources to bring you most accurate information and responsible analysis. Now we begin tonight with the growing chasm. I love that word, chasm, C-H-A-S-M, in the United States of America. Now, I'm going to do this unemotionally, with no ideology whatsoever, which I hope you will find refreshing. But it is a major story. So, we all know what happened immediately after the assassination. You know, there was a flood into social media. Never a good thing. There is no policing of social media, no editors, no fact checking, nothing. And many mentally disturbed human beings park themselves in these political websites. Okay. So I get a letter from Ken in New York City. Obviously not going to tell you his last name because I don't want anything to happen to Ken. But here's what Ken writes to me, quote, "What about the rhetoric from Trump and MAGA? Trump and MAGA are just as responsible for all the chaos we have in politics. Please tell Bill O'Reilly if he is truly to be fair and express the opinion for both political parties, he should read my email," unquote. Okay, no problem reading your email, Ken. And whether I'm fair or not is up to you. But I'll tell you this. The whataboutism is ridiculous, Ken. It really is. You can do that for every story in the world. Well, what about you can always find somebody worse or who said something. Nothing comes of whataboutism. It is lazy. It is fifth grade. Oh, he did better. Okay, let's knock that out. What about? Let's deal with the problem in hand. You believe, Ken, that the Trump administration and the people who support it are just as responsible for vitriolic rhetoric as the progressive left. Apparently, that's what you are believing. That's fine with me. You're an American, you believe what you want to believe. But I'm going to make a case to you now that is you cannot refute. All right? About how wrong you are as far as the spread of hatred, verbal hatred. Okay. Now, surely, Ken, you know, and every other person who owns a television set knows, there are 5 major corporate networks allied with the Democratic Party and progressive movement in America. 5. ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MS. 5. Allied with the traditional conservative movement is Fox News Channel. And Newsmax, but Newsmax's audience isn't at the level yet to come close to the others. Okay. So the messaging that the far left progressive movement puts out, as well as the Democratic Party, gets vastly heard more than the traditional message, just by the nature of the communication through the television news agencies. And it's the same thing on social media. It's about 5-to-1 liberal to conservative sites. So any kind of hatred is amplified at a much greater level on the progressive left. Again, you can't refute it. is absolutely true. So to say, no, they both do it. Well, there are loons in both parties or extremists, but on the right, you don't have nearly the megaphone. Not even close. And the money factor that drives these social media operations from the progressive point of view is in the billions, with a B. Billions of dollars pouring into the Media Matters and all these other places. Right doesn't have that. Okay, that's number one. Number two, the progressive movement in America wants to overhaul or overthrow, in some cases, the entire American system. They don't like capitalism. They don't want laws enforced. They don't like religion. They want to overthrow it all. It's like the Revolutionary War. The rabid people, the loudest voices, were the patriots who wanted to throw the king out. They got all the attention. They were the rabble rousers. Okay? Because the other people, 50% of them back then, wanted to stay with the king. But they didn't say much or they'd be tarred and feathered. Now, the progressive movement is the rebellion. So they're 10 times as loud as the so-called silent majority. And again, it's picked up and amplified by a very sympathetic national media. You see? See where we're going here? So if you are an unstable, mentally ill person and you live in the progressive world, you are constantly agitated. That's what happened to Utah. This kid was in the dark precincts. Agitation, agitation, agitation. And boom, he splits, he breaks. Same thing with the kid in Butler. Okay, who tried to kill President Trump. All right, now everything I have said in the last 7 minutes and 49 seconds is true. No what about, none of this, none of that. Solid rock truth. So Ken, do you get it now? Are you getting it? That the hatred is driven. It's not unique to the progressive left. There is plenty of hatred on the crank right, but they don't have the ability to get it out there. And that's the memo. Okay. President Trump, to his credit, and I discussed this with him last Thursday, said this about the reaction to Charlie Kirk's assassination. Go.
How do you want your supporters to respond, sir?
I think that way. He was an advocate of nonviolence. That's the way I'd like to see people respond.
Okay. Excellent statement. Totally appropriate. But Donald Trump, in his heart, sincerely believes that the radical left is a huge threat to this country. And so do I. Roll the tape.
They get paid for it. They're profession from Soros and other people. And we're going to look into Soros because I think it's a RICO case against him and other people. Because this is more than like protests. This is real agitation. This is riots on the street. And we're going to look into that.
And he has a perfect right to look into it. Now, it's going to be a tough case to make on a RICO against a guy like Soros because Soros got a battery of lawyers. And he stays within the law as far as where he moves his money. But there is no question, as I said, huge money coming into these radical progressive organizations. And they should be checked out. Okay, update on what's going to happen this week. Tomorrow, the alleged shooter, we say alleged, he did it, but due process is afforded to everybody, will be in Utah to answer the charges. He, will be charged with murder. I believe Utah will execute him eventually. It'll be a state case. I don't see a federal charge here. Could be wrong on that, but I don't think so. The funeral memorial service will be held Sunday night in Phoenix, Arizona at the State Farm Stadium where the Arizona Cardinal football team plays. 63,000 people capacity. It'll be sold out. You can go. You have to contact the stadium and give your name and all that. President Trump will be there, as will Vice President Vance, and a variety of mostly Republican, but I think Kelly will probably show up, the senator from Arizona, a few others. So that's Sunday. In the meantime, you have to consider a few things that the families, and Donald Trump made this point, family of the shooter is, you know how much damage that is? See, evil spreads. Evil spreads. It's not only Charlie Kirk's family, 2 little kids and his widow, devastated, changed forever, negatively. It's the family of the shooter. Parents, and I think he had 3 brothers, 2 brothers. They're Mormons, they're conservatives. Their whole lives will never be the same. That's what evil does, across the board. Here it is. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Cold and flu season coming on up. We all know it. And it really is nothing to take lightly. So when people start getting sick all across the country, medications disappear. Everybody wants it at the same time. So it's very, very smart to have a pharmacy you can count on, like All Family Pharmacy. Right now, they're helping Americans get ahead of the curve with 10% off antibiotics, antivirals, other essentials. You know how important it is to have the right meds when you get sick, particularly when your kids get sick. You don't want to be going into the doctor's office, spending all the time. You want to have them at your home. So if you have a few months' supply, you don't have to worry. And that's what we're doing here. If you believe in medical freedom, okay, and taking care of your family, as I do, this is the pharmacy for you. Please go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. Use code BILL10 to save 10%. Joining us now from South Dakota is a former U.S. attorney for the state of Utah who knows the system inside and out, Brett Tolman. Kash Patel, head of the FBI, there's a report on Fox News today that the Trump administration is turning against him. Do you have any idea why? What is causing that?
Well, I don't believe it. I think what the articles I've seen, they're sourcing individuals within the FBI who were anonymous in their comments. I think it comes as a result of him perhaps jumping the gun too soon, wanting to have transparency and then, let people know what was going on the ground in the investigation, perhaps a little too early. He indicated that there was an individual in custody. That was not the case at that moment when he sent that out. He had to, backtrack on that. Look, I think this is, it is unusual to see the director of the FBI willing to give, real-time information as he gets it. I think he's probably learned a bit from this and may hold his cards a little closer to confirm.
Yeah, but I mean, what's the big deal? So he made a mistake. So what?
Exactly.
I mean, look, I'm not sticking up for Kash Patel. We've been trying to get him on the program for 6 months. He's giving me the big middle finger. So I have no reason. And I'll be honest, he didn't want to answer my questions. I mean, that's the last thing on earth he wants to do. Okay. So I'm not a big fan of Kash Patel at this point in history, but I don't see what the FBI, who's assisting the state of Utah in this investigation, I don't see what they did wrong. Did they do anything wrong that you saw?
No, I didn't, Bill. And I think, that's a fair point by you who, he hasn't come on the show. I'd love for him to come on the show. I think he should answer some questions that you have for him. And I'll tell him that when I talk to him. But good. I think, look, they the DNA evidence, they did that very quickly, that they found. They also have been analyzing other evidence very quickly, putting it as a top priority. They're doing what they need to do. And keep in mind, they are going to lead the investigation into whether or not there were co-conspirators. And if there are, then they will be the point of the spear.
Sure, that's a conspiracy. Right. And Mangino hinted at that today. But again, we're not going to get out of what we know and speculate, because that's what all the others do. It's a total waste of everybody's time.
That's right.
But bear with me for one more on this Patel, and then I want to get into the state of Utah. Right now, from my vantage point, I have seen nothing the FBI has done wrong in this investigation. Am I missing something?
No, in fact, my comments from my friends in law enforcement in Utah County that are involved in this have indicated the FBI has been an absolutely terrific partner.
I'm glad to hear that. State of Utah, conservative state, not crazy, but small state. Death penalty is there. Can't remember when the last time it was used in Utah. Can you remember the last time death penalty was used?
Gary Gilmore was executed.
Wow.
Yep, I believe Gary Gilmore was the last execution by firing squad, which is still legal in Utah, but very unlikely in this case.
And there's no soft on crime stuff like Chicago and New York City and LA. You don't see that, right?
That's right.
All right. Mormon-based. All right, which means Christian tenets from the Mormon point of view. So this guy goes through the system. His lawyers are going to plead, he's insane. You know that. That's the only way they can go to try to save his butt from the execution. But I have confidence that the state of Utah will be able to try this case in a fair way. I haven't, again, it's like the FBI. I haven't seen any evidence where you're handing it over to people who don't know what they're doing. You know way better than I do, though.
They do know what they're doing. They've handled their fair share of very difficult homicides. One thing for folks at home to understand, the insanity plea is very difficult in Utah. In essence, they're going to have to show that he has an incapacity to appreciate right versus wrong. That's going to be a very difficult burden in this case, because there's plenty of social media. There's plenty of other witnesses that are going to come forward. And his effort to actually hide and conceal after the murder is evidence, the best evidence for knowing right.
It's not going to work. He's going to get the death penalty, but it'll take forever. Last question, the trans business. Yes. Does that have anything to do with this case? Do you feel that that's going to be injected? Because apparently this guy, the alleged shooter, was living with a guy who was trying to be a girl or something. Anything there?
I've not seen anything that suggests that it's a part of the evidence building against, the individual in question here, Tyler Robinson. But I do know if there is a conspiracy, if there is an individual, his partner and roommate is involved in it, then it will be injected into it, because it certainly may be the motivation. It may be what the evidence, that gets presented by a prosecutor to say, this was an effort, the motivation behind, this was the justification for his action. So I guess it's too early to tell at this point.
You bring up an interesting question. Does the prosecutor have to give a motive or just show that he did it?
No, usually there does have to be a motive to get juries. But in this case, I don't think they're going to need a motive, because it's so apparent. An assassination is so different than any other homicide. So I think they'll be very, probably relieved that they just
it might happen. I mean, certainly the news media desperately wants it. But the prosecution is not going to have to convince the jury.
That's right.
The assassin legislation's own family will be enough to do that.
That's right.
Because he was radicalized. All right, Brett. As always, you really deliver very good, pithy analysis, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you. Living on credit cards to cover daily expenses? Then those interest rates are brutal. Why pay 20% or more to the banks? Instead, call my friends at American Financing. With mortgage rates in the fives, they can help you keep your hard-earned money right in your pocket and out of the hands of credit card companies. Right now, American Financing is helping homeowners save an average of $800 a month by using their home equity to wipe out high-interest debt. There's no upfront fees, no obligation, just a 10-minute call to a salary-based mortgage consultant. Plus, if you start today, you could delay 2 mortgage payments. That's more cash in your hands right away. So don't wait. Call American Financing right now. 888-462-9557. 888-462-9557. AmericanFinancing.net/bill. Let's face it, the U.S. economy is under stress. National debt rising, trade war shaking the markets. And meanwhile, China is dumping the dollar and stockpiling gold. That's why I protected my savings with physical gold and silver through the only dealer I trust, American Hartford Gold. And you can do this. Get precious metals delivered to your door or place in a tax-advantaged gold IRA. They'll even help you roll over your existing IRA or 401k, tax and penalty free. With billions in precious metals delivered, thousands of 5-star reviews, and an A+ from the Better Business Bureau, you can trust American Hartford Gold as I do. Please call 866-501-5201 or text BILL to 65532. Again, that's 866-501-5201 or text BILL to 65532. All right, final thought of the day. It is very difficult for me to discipline myself in a way that is not emotional. Because you got Charlie Kirk, I didn't know him, so I'm not in that world. I'm not in the ideological world at all. I mean, I know the broadcasters, but I don't know the younger people. I might have met him when he was really a kid. But just consider this for a moment. When I was 31, I was lucky I wasn't in prison, okay? I mean, I was still formulating what my philosophy of life would be. I was making a good living reporting the news, but I didn't have any astute vision at 31 years old. Charlie Kirk's 31 years old. Just listen, whether you like him or not, whether you agree with him or not, it doesn't matter. So he takes his philosophy of life, which is that America is a noble nation, that traditional tenets have made it a strong, noble nation, and that Judeo-Christian philosophy, religious belief systems, contribute in a very positive way to this country. Takes all that, all right, and he puts together an organization to bring that message to non-believers, like a missionary in college settings. And he tours the country, and he's got a website, and he's engaged in conversations at the highest level, and he wins over traditional America, and then he brings his message out to the rest of the folks. 31 years old, this guy does this. I mean, I'm looking at him going, whoa. If you read Confronting the Presidents, most of the presidents were like me at 31. They were kind of wishy-washy. I mean, Donald Trump will tell you at 31. But Kirk, he was right on it. Now, I respect that. All right? And whatever he said individually about certain things, doesn't matter to me. He's an American. As long as he's not pushing hatred or violence, he's a right to his opinion, he's a right to state it. Same thing with the ladies on The View and everything else. It's when you cross that line into, I want to destroy people who disagree with me. But that's not what Charlie Kirk did. He wanted to engage them, right? So once I started to study him and put into perspective his life's work, boy, oh boy, it comes out unbelievably impressive. And I wanted you guys to know that I spent a lot of the weekend doing that. Thank you for watching and listening to the No Spin News. I'm Bill O'Reilly. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching. To view full episodes of the No Spin News anytime, sign up to become a BillO'Reilly.com premium or concierge member today.